Hey folks, it's Aria here, and I'm doing something a little bit different with this one. As you can tell by the title of this video, I'll be talking about Monster Hunter Rise, which I'd like to extend a massive thanks to Capcom for sending me a Steam code for. I'm late to the party, which is honestly kinda normal for me with these things, but in this case, it isn't from a lack of trying. I've tried Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate on the 3DS and Monster Hunter World on the PS4. I can 100% admit that I am, and have always been, spoiled by much faster, much more free-form action-based games, such as the Devil May Cry series. So the gameplay of those prior games on a base level always felt rather stiff, unresponsive, and sluggish to me. Tack on all the menuing necessary to navigate to the simplest aspects of the game besides, and of course, the hunting part, which World expanded upon with needing to follow and track various monsters, and you pretty much had to play the prior games at length to get used to everything. I could see what made people fall in love with the game, but its execution didn't exactly mesh well with me. Enter Monster Hunter Rise, which I've been very attached to since I've started playing. It took time for me to come around to it, and even when I made the choice to take the chance, it wasn't taken lightly. Around the time I was accepted into the Capcom Creators Program, I was pressed by a friend into at least looking into Rise, because they wanted something for us to do, and they were really into Monster Hunter. I told them I'd look into it, and from there, I began watching videos, and crucially, I began asking questions within the Capcom Creators community itself, where several of the members were more than happy to give their thoughts and opinions on various things. Upon being told about how mobility and overall responsiveness were things that were drastically improved upon, I said, why not? And gave the demo a try, using different weapons and taking as much time as needed to get used to controls and the like. And I came away feeling very comfortable with how the game, well, felt to me. It didn't take long after that for me to decide that I wanted to take the plunge. Capcom granted me a code, and here we are. But what is it that made Monster Hunter Rise grab me when the other entries I tried failed to do so? First of all, there's the new Wirebug mechanic. The Wirebug allows hunters to swiftly swing and propel themselves through the air in various ways, functioning quite similarly to an air dash from a fighting game. This alone increases your overall mobility by an extremely wide margin, but there's more. Rise also introduces the Pelomutes, which are mountable hounds that can accompany you on missions as you handle the task at hand. These allow for much more rapid movement through an area, and what's more, should a monster you're fighting retreat, it can make following them far less cumbersome than it was in prior games. They also allow you to handle certain actions while riding around, such as using potions to heal, or using a whetstone to sharpen your weapon, giving you a lot more overall control over what you're doing and when, once you get used to things. Like your Palico from before, Palamutes are also customizable, and can even get different armor sets, and even layered armor, so you can dress your preferred pet/partner up how you want as you go. When fighting larger monsters, another new mechanic can be used called Wyvern Riding, which is really cool. Damage a monster enough and you can rope it up and mount it. Pretty simple and straightforward, and once you mount it, you can choose to take it to another large monster to initiate a kaiju battle. You can ram it into another large monster to stun it and make that one mountable, or you can just ram it violently into walls to damage it and bring it down so you and others you may be with can do what you need to. Another quality of life change comes with something that might be seen as a bit of a double-edged sword to some veteran players, though most everyone I've heard from sees it as a net positive, and I personally agree. The overall grind for materials has been lessened by a lot. Unless you're extremely unlucky, you won't have to spend too much time trying to get materials to make specific sets, so long as you know what you need and where to get it. There are also other notable additions as well, such as the ability to choose whether or not you want to use a hard lock-on for larger monsters that functions more like the usual character action game, with a camera that follows and tracks them unless they go too far out of sight for the lock-on to stick, which, for me, works quite well, since keeping up with things can be hard when stuff gets chaotic. With all this, the much more fluid feeling gameplay overall, and the consistent content that the game's getting as well, I'm really glad that I could make it to the party at all, even if I am late getting in the door. I've got the game on both Steam, thanks again Capcom, and on Switch, so I'm definitely in it for the long haul, and have been reaching out to play it with people when life hasn't gripped me up. So thanks Capcom for making such an awesome game. And thanks to anyone who took the time to watch this and listen to me ramble.